Do I just have a thing for buff lesbians? Yes, I do. Also, I am an absolute big fan of like middle-aged heroes all of a sudden. Maybe it's because I'm becoming middle-aged, who knows? Everything's stackable, right? Hello team, my name is Monique, welcome back to the Cauldron, and today we are going to walk through what 5 stars I have read so far in 2021. In case you didn't know, this is Bookwitch Reviews, my channel, and I actually did this last year and then I never actually like wrapped up, so I'm going to try really hard to do so now. But because I shout so much and so loudly about most of my 5 stars, the majority of these should have come as no surprise. I have read 13 5-star reads in the last 6 months, so let's just jump through them, shall we? So my first 5-star of 2021 was The Mask Falling, ooh, this is shiny, by Samantha Shannon, which is the 4th book in the Bone Season series. I did a reread of the 1st book right at the end of 2020 and then power read the 2nd and the 3rd, and then I read The Mask Falling. So the 1st book, The Bone Season, follows Paige Mahoney in a world much like our own, except clairvoyancy is real, but it is also illegal. And so Paige is a militia for one of these underground like clairvoyance gangs. However, everything changes one day when she goes on the train and gets sort of ambushed by the Skyans, which is like this police of the clairvoyance. And it's so good. This is such a sad book, and I honestly cannot wait for the 5th one. It is a series that I didn't pick up until a couple of years ago, and I'm now like, I am wowed by it, and Samantha Shannon is firmly establishing herself as one of my favorite authors of all time. The next 5-star I read was Winterkeep by Kristen Cashore. This is the 4th book in the Graceling Realm series, which is a 4th book I never thought we would get, and then suddenly I saw it on NetGalley and I was so excited. Graceling is a YA fantasy series that follows a separate protagonists, so they're basically standalone books, but they all take place in the same universe. And this book follows a couple of like recognizable characters from a couple of the other books. Fire, which is the 2nd book, is one of my favorite books of all time, and I absolutely really desperately want to reread the entire series, including this one. It has telepathic foxes and like purple manatees. Also, this cover, like, look at it. I know I'm using the ring light, but look at the angel. The next 5-star I read was Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames, which was quite a surprise for me. I was prepared to like this one. I wasn't prepared to sob about it and love it as much as I did. This is basically a play on a D&D campaign, but also the sort of band culture of people like touring. And then we have like middle-aged to old grumpy men who used to be heroes who are now sort of just chilling. They just want to sit, have a beer, like pet their dog and not do anything else. However, they get dragged back into touring when one of them comes and asks for help to save his daughter. And this was just, Clay Cooper is like one of my favorite characters, and I absolutely adored this one and I highly recommend it. Next up on my 5-star reading thing, I did a reread of the Wayfarer series, and so I read A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which is still a solid 5-star, but I don't put rereads on these lists. And then I also finally read A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers, which is the 2nd book. So the Wayfarer series is a sci-fi character-driven series. In the 1st book, we meet all of the characters that are aboard the Wayfarer, and then the following books are like vaguely tied to some of the characters in the 1st one. This one especially takes place right after the events of A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I wasn't prepared to like fall in love because I was like, I'd read the back of this one and it didn't really catch me, and then it literally just ripped my heart straight out. And then immediately afterwards, I read the latest book, which I do not have in paperback yet, but that is A Galaxy and the Ground Within, which was another solid 5-star. It was so good. I think it might be my favorite in this series. And this one like follows basically this like truck stop, but in space. And it was so good and like heartwarming, and it's just, if you love characters and like knowing about like cultures, and it's just Becky Chambers write aliens like no one else, and I have heard vague rumors that that might be the last book in the series, and I don't want that to be the truth. Next, I read the first contender to my favorite book of the year. And that is The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. This is one of my most anticipated releases of the year, literally since I heard about it sometime last year. This is an adult military fantasy. It deals with colonization, it deals with trust and love, and this weird almost bodyguard romance where you're not sure who has the power, who doesn't have the power. It also has this weird magic system that I'm not entirely sure of, but it is the first book in a new series called The Magic of the Lost. And basically in this book, we meet Terrain, who as a young child was basically abducted from her country of origin, and together with a lot of other conscripts has been raised far from her home country. She no longer has any attachments to her country. And so when she is sent back to quell a rebellion, she is not sure who should really have her loyalty, the country that raised her or the country that she was taken away from. In also comes a lost princess who is pushed out of her power, and she is sent to this country to basically like see whether or not she can hold on to power correctly. And these two, like, I'm just like, I read this so fast and I desperately want to reread. This is the beautiful Illumicrate edition, and basically the love of my life this year is Terrain's arms. Like, look at them. Do I just have a thing for buff lesbians? Yes, I do. Also, so many queer babies in here. Then I read another book that I had heard good things about, but I was like, oh, it'll be good, but it won't be the best. And then what was it? The fucking best. This is Raybearer by Jordan Ifikio, which second book comes out very soon. I have bought special editions from Illumicrate and I'm so excited about it. This is another African-inspired fantasy. And this one follows a young girl who has been raised in isolation by her mother, whom is called the Lady. However, when she is finally sent back in to become part of this crown prince's sort of council, her mother makes her promise that once the crown prince loves her as much as she loves him, she has to kill him. And it's just like, it's found family. There's ace representation in here. There's like this soft, this romance, and just like Terry Sai is just a soft little cinnamon roll, and I just want to protect her and the prince, and I just literally can't. Also, how stunning is this paperback? Like, check this out. Next came a book that I was like, wasn't sure if I really wanted to read. Like, every time I read like this summary, I was like, like I want to, but I don't really care. And then I finally picked it up and then I cried. This is Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, which is a sort of, I thought, a magical realism book. So a book set in our world, but with magic. But it's actually more of a slightly different universe book. It is set during the suffragette times, but witches in this world have always existed. However, womanhood and the power that they naturally carry have just been sort of taken away from them. And in comes these three sisters who have very different reasons for being part of the suffragette movement, but suddenly the women's power might become the witches' power. There is several little inserts of sort of reimagined fairy tales where the witch is the good one, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I am obsessed with this book and I want to read it again. All of these books, I want to read all of them again. This is such a solid 5-star and I'm just like, why did it take me so long to read it? Also, more quiz. Can you sense a theme? The next book that I was like actually pretty darn sure that it was going to be a 5-star was The Dawn Hounds by Sasha Stonich. This is another weird fucking book where I'm like, why do I love it so much? I don't really know, but I really do. And basically this book is like an urban fantasy slash like fantasy book where we are following a young disgraced cop who is seen as broken because she is bisexual. However, she sort of ends up in the wrong place at the wrong time and is murdered, but it doesn't stick. She gets sent back by an ancient god and sort of finds others like herself, but she also finds out that revolution and war is coming to her country, and her country is basically already on the like verge of collapsing, so she is trying to save it. And this is almost like plant punk. It's like steampunk but with plants. There's a specific word for it, cryo something. It's plant power and it's so weird and the writing is so odd. The only thing I have about it is the fact that the typesetting is like terrible, but the cover is to die for, and there are these tiny moments of looking out from this like all-seeing God's perspective that's like in no way human, and that's like chef's kiss amazing. Then we have my first 5-star middle grade on this book. I finally decided to read the Nevermore series, and I read the first, the second, and the third book. And the third book literally like cemented itself in my heart. This book is so good. The first book, Nevermore, follows Morrigan Crow as she nears her 12th birthday, where she is meant to die because she is a cursed child. However, as we sort of turn around on her birthday, Jupiter North, who is this weird, tall, red-headed man, shows up and whisks her away to Nevermore, where he says that if she can get through these trials, she can become one of the Wondrous Society. And this book just, like all of the feelings I was like waiting for. The first and the second book are both 4 stars. The first is like a 4.5, but this book literally just took the cake. We have found family, we have magic, we have casual queerness in the adult, and it's just, I'm so excited about Silverborn, which is the 4th book, which comes out next year, and I would like it now. Thank you. We only got 4 more. Are you ready? Next is a sequel that I knew was going to be a 5-star, and that is The House of Always by Jen Lyons, which is the 4th book in the A Chorus of Dragons series. The first book, The Ruin of Kings, is basically an adult high fantasy where we are following Kieran, who is the adopted son of a young bard. However, he finds out that he is actually the bastard child of the nobility, and as he sort of gets drawn back into high society, he finds out that there may also be some prophecies saying that he is the one to ruin the world. This is a multi-perspective, very like mind-boggling world-building world. It is a queer normative. It has several different like cultures that deals with gender in a very different way. It is I think one of my favorite series now of all time. And this book took a turn that I was not prepared for, but it was so good. And I finally got the thing I've been pining for, just a little bit in here, not as much as I wanted, but just a tad, and I want to read the whole series again, and then I want to cry. The 5th book has just been announced, and I'm not ready for it to end. Like, it can't end well. Like, no, it just can't. Then I read The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst, and I wasn't sure what I was expecting from this, but I did not expect middle-aged heroes who are sassy and love each other, but are also weirdly together. And I should have, because it's basically on the summary. But basically, The Bone Maker is a fantasy standalone where we are following a group of what used to be heroes, but 25 years after they killed the great evil, we have the leader who is alone in this isolated tower trying desperately to bring her loved one back. And then we have several of the other ones who are just sort of trying to move on. And the leader finds out that all she really needs is human bones to bring her lover back to life, but the only place she can find living bones is on the battlefield of their last stand. But human bones are very illegal to use in magic in this world, and so things ensue. And I love this so much. It's so funny. I am an absolute big fan of like middle-aged heroes all of a sudden. Maybe it's because I'm becoming middle-aged, who knows? But this one is one that I want people to read it, and I want people to read it now. Then we have the other contender for my favorite book of the year, and that is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This is another absolutely astonishingly beautiful Illumicrate edition, and this is a high adult fantasy inspired by Indian mythology and history. In it, we are following 2 separate characters. We are following this disgraced princess who has been sent into isolation in this temple. And then we are following a young maidservant who may not always have been a maidservant. And these 2 get tangled together in a plot to sort of overthrow an emperor and return like the power to this conquered country. There's also a plant rot. There's like the yearning feelings, and just like it's just so amazingly beautifully written and just stunning, and I can barely deal with myself about how much I love this one. Like I don't think I can pick my favorite. They are both my favorite. And then last but not least, the latest 5-star that I have read, and I'm like, it can't be anything but 5-star, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this book. And that is Pet by Akwegi Umesi, which is, as you can see, basically a short story / novella. In it, we are following Jam, who lives in this utopian town called Lucille, where all of the grown-ups says that monsters no longer exist. And they don't exist because the angels have banished them. And basically, Jam believes this up until she suddenly meets a monster called Pet, who says that in her friend Redemption's house, a monster is lurking and she has to help him vanquish it. And this was just writing stunning, casual trans main character rep, beautiful, also hurtful, just important in a lot of ways. And I just like... This was so good. Now my back hurts from sitting like this. I'm trying to make a stack here, but these are not very stackable. There's also a lot of them. Everything is stackable, right? Stacking. Here we go. These are the 14 books that I have given a 5-star so far this year. I have had a wonderful reading year so far. I like so many of these, I desperately want to reread them. I've also hauled a lot, so I'm hoping for many more 5-stars this year. And basically, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe button at the same time, so you don't miss out on any other videos from me. You can also click the little bell, which will give you a notification when I put up a new video. If you would like to check out my 5 stars for the first 6 months of 2020, I will leave a link to that video down below so that you can check it out. And then let me know in the comments what last 5-star you read. How did you feel about it, other than obviously love and affection? And then remember that I'm proud of you, you're doing great, and I'll see you guys next time with another video. Bye.